All right, we are here with Bryan Kraham for this week's um, section of Two Wheel Tuesdays, but it is not Tuesday. It is Monday, the 17th. Unfortunately, I am busy tomorrow on Tuesday. I don't know if you guys know the restaurant Casa Bonita in Denver. It was a very famous restaurant. The creators of South Park bought it, rebranded it, and like to get a reservation is like months in advance, and like we've been waiting since I think last August or October. I don't know what is, but the reservation we got was for tomorrow, so I couldn't do a Two Wheel Tuesday. I didn't want to like throw one together, do something really janky. And honestly, this is kind of semi janky because I hit up Bryan, I think literally this morning, because I wanted to at least have something for you guys, and I enjoy doing this and talking about it. So Sherco just kind of randomly announced their 2025 model. Bryan put up a lot of photos online of that beautiful bike right there that he probably had a 2-year-old color in. But yeah, Sherco kind of threw a curveball at us. We were expecting, I think we thought the launch was supposed to be tomorrow.
Correct. Yep.
And all of a sudden I'm like seeing stuff when I woke up Sunday on Father's Day about the new bike. And I was like, hey, well, Bryan, do you want to come and join me? We can chat about the new bike, kind of create a buzz about it. It's pretty exciting. Obviously, it's been the same bike, not the same bike, but like very few improvements, I think since 2017, something like that. So this is the first really big push for like a new model essentially from them. And, you got like the KTM group. It feels like they're putting out new models. They barely figure out all the fixes on the model, and then the next one comes and they're having issues again. So, hopefully Sherco got all their ducks in the row with this one. I'm really excited about it. So just wanted to have Bryan do a quick intro about himself because, not everyone goes to all the races and knows who Bryan is. So he's the marketing manager of Sherco USA. So Bryan, if you want to do a quick little spiel about yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Cody, and you taking the time to put together a non-janky two-wheel Tuesday. So here we are. So the real quick about me, my background, I've been in stick and ball sports the better part of, 24 years, I want to say, 23 years. Everything from my entry in ticket sales with the Houston Rockets to head of sponsorships with the Houston Dynamo, where I did several multi-million-dollar jersey deals and naming rights to stadium and several of the founding partnerships. And then I moved to Austin, Texas to work for Circuit of the Americas. And that's actually where I met Ron Solomon. I was actually pitching him a sponsorship for a different company that he had involvement in. He had on a Sherco hat. I said, man, what the heck is Sherco? And 3 weeks later, I was working for him. So it was right at that transition time. I just crossed over my 5-year anniversary here at the beginning of this month. So I've been heading up sponsorships on the race team side. I've been heading up the OEM marketing, since day one. So it's been a pretty cool ride. As you know, we're just such a niche brand, a small brand, that it's fun kind of putting our thumbprint on something that, we build for future generations. And as the brand kind of accelerates and grows, and yeah, with this was a post I did as one of our, actually, I think she's on your platform, Crystal Marie Marzaki, little spark plug on Instagram, everybody. I just put a funny post out there, and like you said, I took a fat marker and used my finger on the mouse pad to make it as bad as possible. And I said, I'm not going to post that. That's horrible. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to post. I'm going to tease the 25. It's a 24 hidden. And people are like, oh, I still see the hoses. It's still carbureted. And, people had no idea that it was just a 24 that we did. So, so fun stuff. And it's fun being with a brand like this where, we can be a little loose. I think you remember a couple of years ago, I did the ad where it was a 2021 4-stroke in front of a bunch of sheep. And then people took that. And
Oh yeah, that was a personal
favorite. So yeah, we get to have fun. We're kind of, maybe self-proclaimed brand of the people, but I got a compliment today that, can't believe I took all of Sunday and all of today, and I'm answering every single person's question on social media about the 2025s. And like you mentioned, really
on stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you should buy that new. I don't know. Someone wanted to just put the new tank because we'll get to it at some point, but there's a petcock and a way easier location to access. And I was like, I don't think you want to just buy the tank, because then this isn't going to fit, that's going to fit, but you can try.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't think we're going to have Chase Sexton on social media talking about how the new KTM maybe won't cross over some of the parts. So
Exactly.
obviously, it's we're a small team here in the States. And, Bryan came on, you came on a little bit before I did at Sherco, and you were one of the negotiators to get me over on board with you guys. So, we've obviously had a great relationship ever since. And not only is Bryan doing the marketing stuff, but a lot of times he's at the races. He's lubing our balls, the moose balls. That is. Sorry, I forgot to put moose in there.
I still got to put that on my LinkedIn. I got to get that
Yeah,
on there.
but no, Bryan's always stepping in when needed in anything on the team. So it's been definitely a fun. Is it 5 years? Is that how? I don't know.
Yeah, can you believe it? Yeah,
I did a 3 year. Yeah, so I'm on my 5th year right now. So
yeah.
um,
Yeah, but as you mentioned, Cody, pretty exciting that in that time, we've seen the small changes, counterbalancing to the two strokes was one of the first, changes while you were on the bike. And then we've had, motor improvements on the 250 and 304 strokes last year, small plastics changes, but it's never really been significant.
we've had a lot of minor electrical improvements. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say updates, just improvements. Like the first year we had an issue with coils. The coil was mounted all the way up right by the radiator. You fall over, you bend your radiator just a little bit, it messed up the coil, the resistance or whatever in there. I don't know, but we've had so many coil failures, and then they fix that issue, but then, then it leads to something else. So it's a bunch of little things. And honestly, it was stuff that wasn't like their product. I think it was just where it was located, maybe wasn't doing that. So I think they knew in the back of their mind that they needed a big major overhaul, and just marketing in general. People, they kind of don't want the same thing over and over. So, I was pretty content when I saw the new photos. I saw a spy photo, I think during Endurocross last year, and it was like the new tank, but it wasn't really mounted correctly. Right. I'm sure you saw it, and it was like the old seat, because it's a completely new seat and the way it mounts, and it was like it doesn't look that professional of a photo. Like, are you sure you're gonna finish this on time, guys? But when I saw the actual launch, that was the first time I saw like the full rendition of everything, and it came together really well. And there's a couple of little clips online from Enduro 21. They had some really good story write up on it. So yeah, I'm excited to see. I don't know when they'll be here. Probably not too far out from now, but
on the water, we got to get them here and get them on the dealer's floors. And I'll just comment, John is great with Enduro 21, did a fantastic job for those. Go to enduro21.com and his write up. He's obviously there. We've got Gary Hazel, who just landed probably a few minutes ago, and we'll be.
Gary's our sales guy, manager.
He'll be there.
He's our representation from USA.
Yep. But the one thing I did want to address for your non-Sherco riders on the platform is that there's a lot of confusion, or a lot of people think, oh, does KTM own this? And the quick history, if you haven't given it, is that Sherco was founded in 1999. Sherco is a combination of Bultaco and the Sherpa Model T, which was a trials bike in the 60s. It kind of revolutionized trials riding. Mark Tessier, trials rider, wanted a better bike. Started with the trials bike in 99. Graham Jarvis wins Scottish 6 Days, elevates the brand.
It actually was called a Bultaco in 99, I think, too. And it had the thumbs up.
It had Bultaco on the front headlight mask.
Yeah.
And it had Sherco on the side, and it had the thumbs up on the gas tank. Yep. And then Graham Jarvis series, it was a 2.5, so a 250 that he went on to win. And then he won again on the 2.9, which was right after that. Sherco didn't have an enduro bike until 2004. 2003, they purchased HRD motorcycles. 2004 was the first. It was a 125 four-stroke and a 50. And then the next year they came out with a 250 four-stroke, a 300 four-stroke, the 450 Graham won, Romaniacs on.
I actually had a 2007 450. I usually tell people my first dirt bike I ever had was a 2008 KTM 250 because I bought it. I was riding trials at the time, and they gave me a Sherco 450 that someone had ridden in the Enduros, and it had like cut bars, and like I had never ridden. And they were the first fuel injected 4-stroke 450 also.
Mass produced. Yeah. Honda had the technology, but mass produced. Yep.
Yeah. Mass produced. So yeah, it was the first one that was sold to the public. mass produced with a fuel injection. That's a little thing most people didn't know, but yeah, that bike was it was a big, heavy bike
No
compared to
doubt.
those
And
bikes.
that's when, Graham switched because he wanted a two-stroke, and Sherco didn't come out with a two-stroke until 2013. And, fast forward, the point of what I'm trying to say is a lot of people think, well, is it a KTM motor? Is it this part, that part? I think the statistic today for the 2025s, I think it's like 92% of the motorcycle is Sherco proprietary technology. You've got Excel rims, you've got KYB suspension, you've got some parts that, are outsourced, but they've been bringing the manufacturing
Yeah, they're
into.
manufacturing their own cases now in house because I
Yep.
was there and they just bought a bunch of machines. So
Yep. Exactly.
they got tired of COVID excuses of relying on other companies, so they
True.
managed in their own hands.
True. So that I just wanted to put that on the table. So we're talking about a new model, but we're talking about a brand that's 25 years old. It's relatively young. We don't have that long, runway, but we've made so much progress, or Sherco's made so much progress. And then, of course, thanks to Cody Webb and now Josh Strang and Leighton Smale, Rachel Guttish, all the people that have Cooper and everybody, Pat Smaggi, clearly helping elevate. I mean, I've got dirt bike magazines over there with you on the cover and such. So that, as the marketing guy, taking the race team and just how it elevates the the brand stature. So yeah, I just wanted to comment on that for those that of course you have plenty of non-Sherco riders, but just a quick explanation so they can know the history a little bit too. So, but yeah, exciting times with the completely redo on the 2025s here.
Yeah. Well, I guess with that, if you want to share, Brian's got all the goody stuff straight from France. There are some spelling errors. That's on France. That's not us. So
that is on France. Let's see. Let me know when you can see that, Cody.
Okay, Enduro Range launch.
Let's skip way down
We're on the
here.
wrong page again.
It brought it back open from the beginning. So a lot of cool stuff that you guys were just going through here real fast.
Yeah, we want stuff everyone cares about.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
straight into the factory line and a lot of the changes that have happened. Again, the complete redesign of the motorcycle. You can see probably Jordan Corvalli right there sitting on the bike, or Jeremy Sidow, one of the two that were modeling the bikes. Just redesign the plastics, redesign in some of the geometries, the subframes and stuff. We'll touch on all that as we go. And Cody, you can certainly explain what that means.
Yeah, I had some excitements when I saw the photos of improvement. I was like, thank God.
Yeah, I think the two biggest is the airbox entry from the side, and the petcock on the two strokes, which, as everyone doesn't probably know, we're still carbureted.
The petcock wasn't my I didn't care that much. It wasn't.
Well, because CDR with the 3D print, that nice tool to get in there. So it was, for the average consumer, not the easiest, but also not the worst. But it is what it is. So I guess we'll touch on some of the general improvements across the line, and then we can get into the specific displacements and kind of run through it that way if that works for you.
Yep.
Awesome. So pretty straightforward. Just mentioned this just a minute ago. The body work, everything has changed. The look. Some people were saying it looks like a blue KTM. I'm like, gosh, then there's it's a blue this or that. I think they couldn't be far.
You can say it looks like a blue KTM that was mounted by a gas in the back, and like every bike kind of copies each other at this point. So
100%.
I mean, yeah, I think it looks pretty sleek though, to be honest.
As a marketing guy, my biggest frustration is why they two-tone the brand name, the Sherco. It needs to just be all flow yellow.
Yeah, I kind of have a hard time reading it. That's the MotoGP style. Like it kind of like morphs into the body design, and KTM does that. I can't even you don't even know what it is. It's just
right.
It's a KTM.
Yep, exactly. So as we talked about, this is by far probably the top feature that everyone's talking about, especially when you're talking about GNCC racing or West Hare scrambles or works or something. It's just that quick access to the airbox. Now it's a side entry with a clip. There's a video that I have too. It's kind of funny that the filter is kind of like an octopus. You just kind of go around the edge. I think there's actually 8 holes, and pop a new one, and the clasp just kind of slides up, back down, put the 8.
And then obviously, if you're a racer, you would just buy a second housing and do a quick swap. So yeah, that little plastic yellow tab, I don't know, it's yellow there, but I think it's actually black or gray on mass production. But you flip that off, and out pops a filter, and it kind of latches back in. So they
Yep.
all kind of have more or less the same design, I think. But this one seems pretty easy to use.
Yep. And you're right. The yellow things that are yellow are things that have changed. So just an image of it, and you just pop it right there at the what looks like a freestyle handhold, and just pull that off. We'll talk about the rails there for a sec on the I'm sorry on the frame rails there, but um, anything you want to touch on this, Cody?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I talked to the guys there that are pretty much behind most of the development on the bike when I was at Erzberg. And I was like, oh, tell me a little bit about it because I knew the launch was coming soon. I knew we had a new bike coming. And he was like, well, the frame's the same. And he's like, well, it's not the same, but it looks the same to everyone's eye, but the frame is quite a bit different. It just, more or less looks the same, but I think they were trying to obviously get the weight down a little bit. The bike already did handle pretty well, so there wasn't really any concern there. I think it was just maybe trying to lower the center of gravity with everything, all the components together, and
Yep.
obviously some weight reduction.
Yep. Agreed. This is kind of key. The new mount for the shock.
Yeah, so we realized earlier you can't see the cursor, so that top left image for the top shock mount and the subframe mount, the old bikes, if you were a Sherco rider, you're very well aware that removing your shock was an absolute pain. And on the factory bikes, we would actually take a grinder, shave off a bunch of material on the subframe, on the extra weld essentially, and then we would like flatten part of the bolt so you can actually get the top shock mount bolt out. And now the way the subframe's designed and this new shock mount up top, you can do a shock change super easy. So if you're testing this or that, I mean, maybe for the average consumer, it's not a huge deal, but when I was swapping suspension all the time and doing testing, it was not that fun. So excited about that. The steering lock, we're not Europe. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
The lower chain guide might be nice to have. I never really had any issue or concern with the original one, but if there's a room for improvement, you might as well take it.
Might as well, right? Okay. This, I think you're specifically speaking to how the subframe arches up before it goes out. And we saw it in the photos. It makes the bike look almost elongated, like the rear mud guard or, looks a little longer. The seat is definitely longer. So, I think it plays into the geometries here.
Obviously, before I switched to Sherco, I came off the KTM with the PDS, and it's known for having a little bit more of like a stink bug feel in the rear. And I feel like
what does that mean? Explain that to everyone.
Yeah, so normally you're running more sag. I talk about on the platform and bike setup, but like on the PDS bikes, you'll normally run more sag. He's running the linkage. Mm-hmm. So the stink bug, when it goes to spray you, it kind of sticks its butt up in the air. Yeah. So when you're doing hill climbs and stuff like that, it kind of helps hold you up on the seat. And I felt like the old Sherco model, myself, Cooper Abbott, a bunch of other guys, we ended up running taller seats, or people are putting humps on their seats because I have a tendency to kind of slide off the back of the bike. So I think the way they redesigned this subframe will help with like the hill climbing aspect of sitting on the butt, kind of holding yourself up.
Yep.
And then as well, I think a big change here, like, I don't know if it was like geometry wise with the bike, but they updated the whole electrical system. And it's kind of now where everything's in the back, away from the motor, away from the heat. So I think they needed to make a little bit more space. So it's kind of a 2-part gain on this subframe setup, I think.
Very true.
I'm really excited about this. Yeah. It doesn't seem like much when you look at it. When you read this, you don't see it. But in the image, they have like a fake blue T-handle on that front photo. I'm really happy they changed the way the radiator mounts. So obviously it's a whole new radiator. But originally the bolts went in like completely perpendicular, like to the frame. So,
and if you had like the bulletproof, you had to stick all the way through.
Yeah, if you have an aftermarket, radiator guard, I literally would like take a swivel socket, like wrap it in duct tape or grease, and like slide a huge extension all the way through, and like somehow get a pinky through there and like get the thread started. And if you wanted to do your radiator in a quick change, no, it wasn't happening. So
Yeah. Yeah.
this is they didn't talk about it, which I feel like is a missed opportunity. But yeah, really nice to be able to have such easy access now to
Yep.
radiators. And then they changed the way the shroud mounts. You can see that it's kind of like a KTM now, I guess, where it mounts from the front, not
Yep.
from the side. I think that's how a KTM is.
Yep.
So it says a new fan. Um, I don't know if we really had that many issues with the current fan. The old fan on the like racing edition one, I don't remember.
Mhm.
They discontinued that model, but that fan was not good. It was
It
garbage.
failed a lot. Yep. And even a lot of people, some of the issues we'd see with fans is just people get dirt or debris inside and it just squeals a little bit. So, if it's compact, lighter, and easier to remove, maybe people can get to that a little easier and clean it up a little better, so they don't get that schooling. Also, the expansion tank, I was noticing it on some of the four-stroke photos. It is more compact and it's a pretty cleaner design, I'll call it, and it
Yeah,
sits. You don't see it as much inside the side number plate. So the whole cooling system seems to have been improved pretty significantly with the hoses and whatnot, which used to be a racing part, now is standard. So
yeah, it's true. And
yep,
it's like a third pound lighter, the
yep,
radiators. I think I did the math.
yep.
Yeah, so new frame guards. This is kind of like BNG, bold new graphics to me. We normally run the P3 ones, but these do actually look like they grip pretty well. So it could be something we end up leaving on the race bikes. In the back with the taillight support, we obviously don't really race with those here in the States. And if you do break them, I believe they're probably pretty expensive to replace. So normally,
Nate was on the call. He could say, "Oh yeah, that part number 1628.
yeah.
That's he knows it off the top of his head." But
But honestly, whenever I did go to Europe, I did like having that piece on there. The old model
Mhm.
had like some finger
Yep, finger mold.
divots.
Yep.
This just, I don't know. Next
It
photo.
looks like you could
Yeah.
rip your hands up or your gloves maybe a little bit. I'm curious, Cody, if they, as people may not know, but when we removed that tail light kit and the harness, it left two holes in the old air box. So I wonder if that's something, if people do choose to delete the new LED tail light, that they'll still have to put some tape over the holes there. I wonder,
Yeah. We put
how the
tape,
wiring is.
cover the
Yep,
holes with tape
yep,
on race bikes.
yep. So moving on.
Factory, you know.
Yeah, yeah. This
Uh,
is a little
yeah.
different, but
Before, I believe we had a solid wave rotor in the rear, right?
solid rear. Yep,
Yeah.
solid rear.
So, yeah, this obviously does help with braking power, but if it's muddy or sandy, gritty, you're going to go through brake pads quicker in the rear. So, in the front too, but I feel like it's more of a rear brake issue because people have a tendency to drag the rear. So, good
And a
and
lot
bad.
of times, doesn't dirt and debris kind of go backwards and usually gets on the back
Yeah, it
more
just
so
catches
than,
more in the pads somehow. I don't
yep,
know.
yep,
It looks better with a
yep,
rate cutout. It looks
yep.
fancier.
Still Brembo and Galfer. So, Brembo hydraulics, Galfer rotors and pads. So pretty quality stuff.
And we have a personal sponsorship with Galfer, which is pretty nice. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um, we were talking about this a little earlier, Cody, with the new handlebar plus 5 millimeter, the positioning, and we're thinking, well, maybe there's a third hole, and we'll see in the next page that there's not, but they claim better front wheel comfort and weight reduction, so all new triple clamp altogether. So, um,
I'm
uh,
guessing with the weight cut, there's probably a little bit more flex to it, which maybe makes the front end feel a little bit more compliant. And then, like you said, probably we go to that next photo. They mentioned like a new handlebar position of plus 5 mil. So
yeah,
I thought they maybe would have made it add like another hole there, but I think they just kind of opened up the cockpit. I feel like that was kind of a complaint before from a lot of
yeah,
riders on the Shercos at the cockpit, like your foot peg to handlebar reach
yeah.
was, for me, it was a little bit tight. I felt like a behemoth sometimes on my bike, so I think this will kind of open it up, probably make it a little more comfortable for slightly taller riders like myself.
I mean, it seems so minimal, 5 millimeters, and I know you run the five down and five back pegs as well. So just is that enough to give that comfort? I had some taller riders commenting in some posts on Facebook that I was answering their questions today, and it was, a guy said again, loves the Sherco, but he just feels so cramped on a Sherco because I think he said he's 6'4".
Yeah, he's a
So,
big guy in a short.
yeah,
It's like me, Brandon Petrie,
yeah,
even Cooper Abbott. He's not as tall as me, but he's a bigger guy too. So
6'2" at least. Yeah,
yeah,
at
we're running
least.
a taller seat. Kind of
Yep,
helps with that. And then yeah, the lower, further back pegs. So this will be, I think, a good addition to the bike.
yep. New wiring of the so the wire doesn't go in front of the headlight or the front headlight mask. It looks like it's going here completely down the side behind the headlight, and it looks like the dashboard's up for improved visibility because you really couldn't see. You always had to lean forward to say how fast. Obviously, you delete yours on the race bike, but how fast am I going in miles and hours and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I always wondered why it was so low, but
Yeah.
anyway. Um,
Yeah, you can
it's
see they turned down the axis, new
the
light
axis,
mounting
yeah,
axis. I won't even call those. I don't even, but they're motor mount bolts.
motor mounts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can see they're like this is just a rendering, but they're turned down in the middle. So I don't know. This is they're saving weight where they can. I don't know. You can see.
saving weight, but do you think that has any? Will that be an issue with stress at all, especially in the
I don't
disciplines that
think
you
they'll
race?
break. I mean, I've never seen one break, and if you do break stuff, it's because your bolts are loose. You lose
Yeah,
that tension, and so check your bolts. Number one. There's a
always.
weird cutout in the bottom of the frame there on the side closest to us. I wonder if that's a way to like maybe get your starter out. I can't even think of where the starter is right now on the current model.
Mm,
I haven't had to change one,
yep.
but
No,
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting, and then we were wondering if that's yeah, that could be a flex point, stress point, something. But obviously, they haven't figured out. So we'll have to get that answer for you, Cody Webb.
Monday.
Um, hand guards, they're claiming better protection. They just seem a little bit taller
Yeah,
on the outer parts with that little wing. So
this is your job again here, Brian, as the marketing guy. I'm like, oh, we make bigger handguards for you.
yeah,
The fork protectors do look probably better quality. They're not as tall as what they were before and didn't flare out as much. So I feel like it's probably a better quality plastic now on those
yeah.
fork guards.
And we mentioned this too, but it's clearly shorter, clearly more compact up against the tubes, and gives you space for 9121. So a little wider front if you want
Yeah, I haven't had
to.
the issue so much on the newer models, but when I first started with Sherco, like the
It would
like
rub the left side, wouldn't it?
warp a little bit, and like you would rub the tire on the fork guards. I don't think we're
Yep.
gonna be having that issue anymore.
Yep. This is a good one.
Yeah, we run the P3 skid plates, and when you get a P3 guard, it comes with Allen key bolts, so you can finally, I think, take your skid plate off without the pipe, but it's still kind of a pain. And it seems like they finally, maybe with the new updated spec pipe on there, that's supposed to be a little bit higher up,
Yep.
and the new frame, I think they redesigned the skid plate mount. It's a new skid plate as well, probably to kind of match the new frame. But yeah, it's
Yep.
gonna be really nice for just ease of use to get your
Yep.
skid plate off and on without having to take off the header.
It's still an AXP skid plate, still lacks the linkage protection though, which I don't know why they just don't upgrade that and make that factory part. So, but they do listen to us, and eventually, I bet you that will be a change. So,
One day.
here's one. Here's one for you, Cody.
Yeah, I have a problem. I got big feet, and then I try so hard. I mean, I talk to everyone here on the platform every time I do an in-person school. I'm like, tuck your toes in, and then I see photos of myself, and my feet are like this. And I never had this issue before, but I think it might have been a Sherco problem, even though it was me.
Yeah.
Also, the older skid kickstands, I would always stand on it with my heel and bend it down. I think the very first image I ever took on
Yeah.
a Sherco, I'm
I
like,
was just gonna say that.
I'm ripping out of a barn and the foot pegs, or not the foot peg, this kickstand's almost dragging on the ground. And I was like, can we Photoshop that out? I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh,
I
so yeah,
got it.
now it looks like it's more recessed. The factory guys in Europe too, like Mario, Roman, Theodore, Hamish, McDonald, all those guys, they had like a custom bent, like they
Oh,
would like heat them up and bend them. So
okay.
it wasn't just me. It was other
Okay.
people.
There's a guy recently on social that was complaining about our side stand that it always rubs the swing arm, and everyone's like, we don't have that issue. And he showed us pictures of all his bikes and Hammy's bike that had it rubbed. And I'm like, well, I know about Hammy's, but yeah, it definitely tapered there towards the bottom or
Yeah.
towards the frame side and looks reinforced towards the bottom. I don't know, it just looks more sturdy.
Yeah.
And again, we mentioned this a little bit ago, but kind of looks like the foot pegs are slightly angled up, but I it could be just an image, but I know that's another beef that some people have. Is
Kind of almost looks like, I mean, this is the rendering, but normally it's supposed to match what's going on. Sorry, I'm like leaning in on my thing.
Yeah, I am too.
I do see like 2 washers, so you probably have some flexibility with like the standard height if you want to lower
maybe so.
or raise them.
Maybe so. And even on the picture there, the actual picture looks like they're a little bit angled up. So we'll see. Yeah, you were talking about this too. This is
I think definitely for the better. They got the ECU in the back now, electrical plugs. They got the OBD2 sensor. I don't know, not an OBD2 sensor, but some sort of onboard diagnostics plug, like a car for mapping and stuff like that. Looks like they labeled the fuses well as well, but this is gonna be really nice because before, like I said, we had issues with the coils early stages for me on Sherco, and then the ECU the last few years has been mounted like against, like between the frame and the tank.
Yep.
And it's, if you want to do mapping or try this or that, for the average guy, it's not really that much of an issue, but there is concern for things getting hot, resistance kind of changing, and now it's all in the back there, easier to access.
Yeah, before to get to where we'd plug in the scan tool, we had to take off. You had to, what's it, a 6 or an 8 that you'd have to take the side panel off, then add a shunt, plug it in. Now it looks like it's pop the air box off,
plug it in.
Yeah, so much improved there in terms of just basically PIA, pain in the ass. So
I mean the wiring, like they shaved quite a bit of weight. I mean the radiators were
157. That's
like a third a pound. So they got quite a bit of weight off just on the harness, but it needed a cleanup. And every bike kind of was a little bit different, not gonna lie, but like the wires don't went the same way, but like no bike looked identical. And I think now that with the update, I'm pretty sure everything's going to be just way more Sano and cleaner finish.
Agreed there. This is funny. You had the question. Somebody's asking you today, can I buy the tank and put it on a 23?
Yeah. Now that I look at this photo, there is zero chance if you
zero.
Otherwise, maybe if you cut a hole directly in the middle of your old tank and then and then plug it around the side.
Yeah, because the piece sticking up, what Cody's referencing is the piece that's sticking up there in the middle of the black plastic.
That's not
ribbing. It's normally up
all the way at the top of the tank, not
near the radiators there, up at the top of the steering stem. So, yeah, not gonna work for that guy, not at all. So
we'll have to let him know. I'm gonna, as soon as we're done with this call, I'm gonna go to Big Factory. By the way, saw a spy photo. I mean, it'll be nice. I mean, obviously you don't want your bike to have wear marks or rub marks, and the rubber damper there will be just kind of help protect your frame in the long run.
Yeah, definitely.
You can also see, hold on, right, the top shock mount. I can see the shiny nut, the shiny bolt.
Yeah.
The subframe's completely
out of the way.
Out of the way. I can get my shock out, no problem.
Where he's talking, folks, is right next to the Sherco logo on the bottom right, and clear as day, you can fit a massive socket in there.
I don't have to have like a custom socket I put through a lathe to fit there now.
Doesn't even look like you need an extended socket. Looks like you can just use a shorty. Yep. Here's another one you love, Cody Webb.
Yeah. Before it was a 13 and an 8 to grease my linkage, or also a lot of times if I forgot to grease my linkage, those and I'd order those Delta links or the rear triangle, whatever those triangles, Delta link.
Yep.
Whatever you want to call it. And I'm sitting there and I got a 13 and 8. I'm trying to do it with the tire on. I'm like, no, So now I just probably just an 18, get them all off, and you're on your way.
On your way. And be
Maybe
careful.
maybe
Did you give a lesson on how to
I
grease
won't
needle
use
bearings?
those bearings anymore because they're easily accessible now.
Yeah. But still be careful, folks, because if when you're greasing them, they all could come out.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There's the first
accessibility.
thing I saw on the original bike photo from like last October,
Yep.
something like that. It had the two holes for the muffler. I am thankful for this. If they didn't put a riv nut in there, I'm going to fly to France and beat someone up because the 8 with the 10 mil and I got a bad right wrist and it just sucked taking my muffler off. So
Yeah.
now hopefully it's just an 8 muffler comes off and you're all done. I
All
noticed too.
done.
There's it kind of looks like a weird grab handle pocket, but I'm guessing that's just a
It's
air
airbox
intake.
air
Yeah.
intake. Yeah. So the airbox sits much further back, why the seat's longer. And you can actually see where it says SE300 or SEF 450. That bolt is actually the seat bolt. Now, you don't have the top of the seat twisty since the airbox axis is on the side. So, yes, if you need to get to a battery, you're going to need, that bolt. I'm sure it'll come in the waist bag that comes. And also, I'm noticing too that the airbox sits much further back and they have some heat shield down there, kind of where the four stroke
Four
pipe
stroke. Yeah.
meets the mid pipe there, and then on the two stroke, same thing. So I wonder if they have that heat shield. It looked obviously on the four stroke, there's an extra black, in addition to the side number plate. Cody, you see that where there's a little.
Well, even on the current models, we've realized this literally just this year. I think that they have different side panels for the four
Okay, yeah,
stroke and two stroke. So the actual like made side panel you would take off here to get, if you wanted to on the old bike get the muffler off, it actually
yeah, that's right.
has
Yep,
heat tape on that as well to help
yep,
protect your leg, whereas the two strokes don't. So I'm
nope,
assuming this is more of the same.
probably so. And then we can get into some of the specifics, two stroke line, and then they go into each displacement. So we can touch on these pretty quickly here. But as everyone on the two stroke side was complaining about the petcock being hidden way in the back past the carburetor, and you had to reach all the way through, get down almost on one knee when you're old like me. So now it's right on the side. Similar, I remember when we were in endurocross and Johnny Walker had a little tangle with Colton, and he thought
Yeah,
Colton
he
had.
claimed Colton turned his gas off.
Sorry if Johnny and Colton
So
ever
it
hear
is
this
easily accessible now, but
easily.
yeah,
They'll need some
someone
protection
turn
parts.
your gas off. So always pay attention, I guess.
Yeah. Is that kind of confusing, the writing, though, where it's off,
Yeah,
on,
all I know is
reserve?
off is just straight out because if you catch it on something, then it'll most likely go back to on. So
Yeah, yeah. And then reserve, I would assume, just keep flipping to the left, I guess.
I
So,
think so. Yeah.
yep. Okay. Specific improvements to the 250 and 300. This actually is pretty important, and we saw this in some aftermarket parts. S3 pipes were making a pipe that sat a little higher, and now, the stock Spez 3 or Spec 3, it's going to have a little more clearance. I believe it's the same OEM can, just with a sticker. With the Spez sticker. Before it was just I forget. You know what I'm talking about on the OEM
I
two
think
stroke
I'll take-
pipes.
yeah.
Yeah, so looks
Yeah. For me,
similar.
I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know if the motor sits different. I've heard so many random different bits from that, but the stock pipe is higher because I have a tendency of hitting rocks.
Factory flatty. Yep,
Yeah.
you've done that a few times. This is just specific to the 250 stroke with the gearbox manufactured in
Yeah,
Nîmes.
I'd be interested to like test back to back. Most people may not notice, but I feel like there is kind of a bit of a bigger jump from second to third on the bikes. So I'm assuming they probably made third a little bit slower, like a closer gap to second, and
Yep.
then probably fourth came down a little bit as well, and then fifth maybe just a hair. So then the transition to six isn't as big, but six is more of like for cruising
Yep.
on the
So
roads.
in this image, I'm not sure if blue was last year's? And no, I don't think so. I think they're just
No,
showing
that's just the way they mount up
the
together.
cogs mount. Yep.
I don't know. I have no idea. Well, I know that that's how they made up, but I have no
Yeah.
idea.
I should have been better prepared with another image from last year. I'm sorry, Cody.
Yes. Sorry, I only gave you
Four strokes.
reality.
I know you're anti four stroke, but I love the 300 four stroke, and especially with the motor.
It is a good bike.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
I'll give it to you. One
Acura
production that's
redesign.
compliant with new FIM standards. Boo.
We're already so quiet as it is. Josh Train says he
Meanwhile,
comes up
people
behind
ride
somebody.
Harleys at like 11 o'clock at night doing burnouts. Like, come on, why don't you get up to those guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but the acro pipe does look really, really clean on it. Just looks better on this bike. I don't know. It looks cool.
Looks very cool. I'm curious. The bike image shows the little horn or whatever in just the platinum or the titanium, but up above it shows a little red. So I'm curious if the image was just a stock image that they pulled. But I'm curious about the performance enhancement. Obviously, the resonator, the design has changed. It used to be two little tops with just a resonator can, I would call it. Now
Do you know that Akrapovic really does a lot in terms of like race team development stuff?
Yeah.
So I'm sure they found what they could to get a little bit more horsepower to these bikes.
Yep. I mean, it looks like it's shortened. The header pipe looks a little shorter now and more compact up inside there. So this is another big one. This is where you and I were talking about fuel tank capacity.
Yeah, apparently they lost a little bit of capacity on the two strokes.
Yep.
But then gained it back here, and I was like, it has to be the fuel pump. And then boom, we hit this slide.
Yeah.
I'm like, there it is. So, I mean, obviously the old fuel pump looks like something that Marty McFly would have used.
Is that a flux capacitor?
Yeah, that's flux capacitor. It's like a 3-piece. I don't even know what the new one just is an in-house unit and looks better.
Clean. Yep. Much cleaner. A lot of people are having trouble on the old one, that little on the top part, that light gray thing. They would break those all the time because it's cheap plastic.
The hardest thing to get off.
Yep. It optimizes the fuel pressure regulation. Sweet. More specifics to the 215-300. One thing we were talking about going from model year 23 to 24 was that the 23s and beyond were revving out about 10.8, and they bumped that up to 13.7. They gained horsepower, they gained torque, and obviously the revs. Now, even in 25, they've got 300 more RPM out of that. So
more over rev.
Pretty significant, yeah. Yep.
All I'm seeing here is a lot of extra moving parts that you don't need on a motorcycle.
Yes.
No, they're good. It's good. I just like making fun of four strokes.
Specific to the 450, they took a lot of the changes from the 250 and 300 last year.
Yeah, a lot of this is the same swing arm that we had on the 24.
Yep.
They probably honestly just had to run out of their stock.
Could have absolutely been. Yep.
So now Josh Strain can be happy. He's got a new swing arm.
A lot of weight savings, but again, that was from last year. Like the axle, the wheels, the hubs, the mud clearing. So
honestly, I do appreciate the new axles, just like the socket sizes make a lot more sense. It's a 17 mil up front and a 32 in the rear, which I think is a little bit more consistent with other. So it wasn't like I was the odd man out trying to change them every wheel. Now everyone.
Yep. And just a tilt sensor. So that was already standard in the 250 and 300. So if you tip over, you got 5 seconds that'll kill the bike for you, so you don't blow your motor. And
I think that was it. That's what we
were. Yep, that's because we only import the factory. We don't import the racing. The price gap isn't enough where it justifies us to import them. And everyone's going to gravitate towards KYB and Acura, or just the improvements that are closed cartridge versus open cartridge on the racing model. So a bunch of different stuff there. So,
but if you want to go back to our gallery thing here real quick, and then before we go, since I got our marketing guy on here, I had some questions for
Okay.
other people on here, kind of what are like some just quick do's and don'ts to try and get yourself recognized by brands in the industry, or if you want some sort of sponsorship, what are things you recommend to make yourself presentable?
Yeah. The number one thing from a brand, whether you're riding bicycles, riding dirt bikes, you're a soccer player, doesn't matter. What is the relevant business reason as to why Sherco Pivot Cycles would want to engage with you? Why would they? What's the reason for me to spend a whole bunch of money on you? And when I say spend a whole bunch of money, you have to think about, well, just loan me a bike. Well, how much did that bike cost me to get from France over here? And obviously, I'm saying me, but Ron Solomon, the owner, and it's his investment into that. So, what's the relevant business reason? So, what am I going to do for Sherco? I'm going to be active at the local races. I'm a local racer. I'm a B level. I'm going up into the A, maybe even C. But I have a strong following. I'm engaging. I'm at the track, and I'm not just sitting in my trailer hiding from everyone. I'm talking about it. I will be a brand ambassador. I will, do these things on social media. I'll do these things on digital media. I will drive across the country if you need me to. Those type of things. Having um, I get so many emails and direct messages on social media. Yes, I'm almost 50 and I control the social media, but I should read them off to you. It's like, hey, Sherco, you should sponsor me. I love enduro riding. Some people I actually will respond and say, I'm sorry, we can't, because I know nothing about you. You've told me nothing about you. Instead, be a little more professional and approach it like, hey, Sherco, I know this is Instagram or Facebook and I'm instant messaging you. Who within the company could I speak to? Could I have a phone call with? Could I have a Zoom meeting with? Can I send my resume? Can I talk to you about why it makes sense to partner with me? Why it makes sense to, come to this event, if it's an event, if it's just a person. So I learned that when I was at the Houston Rockets as a 20-some-year-old, and they had a sales training guy come in, and everyone would pick up the phone and say, well, I'm just following up. Well, nobody wants to hear you just follow up. Obviously you're trying to get to something. You're trying to get to an answer. Which direction are we going to go? So have that relevant business reason, something you could find out. 25s just came out. Hey, congratulations. They look awesome. Can you tell me more about that? Open the door somehow, break the ice, figure out something. When people reach out to me and they write my name, Bryan, with an I, or they don't do any, like they don't look me up and find out. There could be something, we could have a connection. They could have grown up in upstate New York like me, or gone to the same college, or studied the same thing. And there's just, don't be lazy is point number two. Relevant business reason, don't be lazy. Do some research and have that wherewithal to come to the table with a reason why we would want to talk. It's not always going to be a yes. It could be discount. It could be a free bike. It could be nothing at all. But don't stop. And then three, be persistent. If you don't hear from them, continue to try, because it's not a no until they say no. But do it the right way. Pick up
Don't
the
be
phone.
overly.
Yeah. Yeah. Pick up the phone. Email. So many of, like, I look at my kids who are 17 and 15, and they're just, everything is just on their phone like this. And I'm like, do you even know how to make a phone call right now? Could you call an employer and have a conversation? And I saw my son, he works at Wingstop, and I was proud of him for interviewing and picking up the phone and doing just that. But so those are three of my top tips: relevant business reason, do your work, do your homework, do some research, and be persistent, and you'll find a little more success that way.
In terms, like, I mean, this isn't necessarily like a sponsorship thing, but like a way of engagement with when you're talking to someone. Like, obviously you get messages like that. I'm kind of known in the industry as being someone who responds to a lot of
Yeah.
people on social media, and people I don't know, or chatting with people. And like you have like the hidden, I don't know, it's a hidden segment of messages on Instagram, whatever it is. And I don't get them that much anymore, but I used to always get hey, give me jersey.
Yeah.
You jersey, send me jersey. And I'm like, you don't even have correct English, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but if someone comes in and has like a heartfelt thing behind it or a connection or um, just something behind it, people are going to want to kind of cater and help you out or see what they can do if you're just a good person and engaging. And
100%.
not even with me sending someone a jersey, it just comes down to someone asking me a question. Like, I don't think most people probably don't answer. Like I have people who like literally will be like, today someone sent me a photo of Tristan Hart's handlebars on his bike with those little gummy bears. I don't know if people saw a little gummy, and they're like, hey, what I saw these on the video of Locked and Loaded. Will Reardon and Tristan Hart had these on their handlebars. What are these? They won't answer me. So I'm like, oh, pretty sure they're Power Bar products of they're cola flavored. Just because they told me, because I asked them,
Okay. Yeah.
they have caffeine. It's basically a gummy bear with caffeine to
Yeah.
give you energy.
And Cody, did it really take that much of your day to do that? And now they're probably wanting to buy your merchandise and they're probably talking to somebody else
Yeah.
because there's, back again, dating myself, but back in time, there was what's called the rule of 250. So if you went to a car dealership or a restaurant and you're going to this one tomorrow and you show up and you have a horrible experience just by word of mouth, you told one person, 250 people are going to know about that just from word of mouth. Now with social and digital, where everyone is just getting on their phones and lambasting, it's now probably the rule of 250,000. Yeah, exactly right. So being a genuine human being, the same way when people linked in with me, I'll have kids that are still in school to CEOs, and I accept almost every invitation. It's getting a little out of hand with the garment manufacturers and things from Pakistan, China, and
Oh
stuff.
my gosh, yeah,
But
gloves. We make gloves for you.
yeah, gloves. We'll make your gloves. And so I will connect with them because that student may be the next CEO of some big brand that I want to have as a title sponsor of Sherco. So you never know. And just being a genuine human being, you can't. I don't know. I'm in the same camp as you. I don't like to ignore people. I've
Well,
seen
I
some
ignore
people.
you if it's a bad question, but if you have a good, honest question, you're going
Yeah,
to get an answer
but
from
there's
me.
a connection. Like when I was 13 years old, I saw you ride and do this, and it's been a memory because I was there with my dad. My dad passed away from cancer. This, that, the heartstrings again, and having a real story, right? Again, you're not going to answer everybody saying, "Hey, I'm from Puerto Rico. Can you send me a jersey?" I'm a big fan, and I can understand how those go to the circular trash. Just boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. So, yeah. Just take some time, do a little research, find out about Cody Webb before you reach out and say, "Hey, you're from California. Man, I grew up in Northern California too. I didn't know that, and that's so cool." Whatever, the little stuff just
Yeah.
takes you 2 seconds to Google somebody these days. So, yeah, yeah, there's that'll get you ahead. I mean, it just I think about too, just from okay, people are riding and that's the question. But I remember when I was going to school and studying sports management, there was 17 programs. Now there's 377 undergraduate programs and another like 170 graduate programs. And then you think of the number of sports teams. Now the field's so much bigger. What are the kids doing to differentiate themselves? And so, get an internship your freshman year and you know, work for somebody. I don't see people reaching out to us and trying to get their foot in the industry, get their foot in the door and saying, I'm willing to go to local events or regional events on your behalf and help out. How can I help? How can I be involved? And you don't even have to pay me. I just want to be there to get experience, put that on my resume, put it on my LinkedIn, and it could turn into something else, just being creative and crafty, just be different from everybody else because everyone's just getting so stale and lame and
Yeah.
sending the same message over and over. I beat that to death. Sorry, Cody, but it's generally something that
I see it too in my head.
yeah,
But like I said, just have some backbone or something to like what you want to deliver to someone.
for sure, it's crazy.
All right. Well, I think with that, it's almost an hour. It's probably maybe my longest one, but we covered a lot of bike details and a little bit of
Yeah.
bonus material. So, yeah, I don't know. New bike, wanted to chat about it. Obviously, I ride for them, but Sherco does not sponsor my platform, but it's okay.
We
I
haven't
haven't,
been asked.
I haven't even,
Nobody's asked me.
I
Nobody's
haven't
given
even
me a
asked you.
relevant business reason. to sponsor.
We
So
do. Well, now that I got Bryan on here, he's definitely going to scour my members. So watch out. He might send some DMs.
I'm full. I chose the annual membership,
Yeah.
so instead of a short one. Yeah, no, for
After
your
you broke
deal,
some ribs a couple years ago, you might need a couple tips.
I need some tips. How not to go off camber full throttle. Yeah, that would be helpful.
And
So
land on your rock. I'm landing on a rock on the ribs.
I'm like literally sitting here. I can feel it to this day still. So, pretty crazy, but yeah, I think in closing, Cody, I just want to say you as a rider, as a human being, and an ambassador. We couldn't have anybody better. You're so smart coming up with platforms like this and just staying ahead, 1, 2 steps. Everyone that is watching this, you have the best in the business right now. Teaching you, coaching you, doing the small stuff like this, and talking about the bikes, talking about sponsorships, how to improve yourself. So, yeah, you guys, I think it's whatever you've invested in this, it's an investment in you, and it's well worth it. I don't care if it's the 199 year or whatever you're paying. See that as an investment in you. It's a marketing investment in you. It's a riding tip. It's a healthy thing. There's so many benefits that you can pull out of this. So props to you, Cody, on this platform and what you're doing. It's great stuff.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. I'll see you sometime soon. I don't know.
TKO.
TKO. All
Yep.
right. Well,
All
thanks
right,
everyone.
Cody.
Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on, Bryan.
You bet. My pleasure. Talk to you soon.